Our farm was a primitive farm at the time. We milked cows by hand. We did not have electricity, so we had to pump water for the cattle and the horses. We had a huge garden, probably well over an acre, and we grew all of our own potatoes and onions, the root crops, beets, carrots. We grew cabbage. We raised strawberries and raspberries. Our farm started out to be 57 acres as a dairy farm, and we raised all our own dairy feed as well as all of our own food for the home. And then Dad expanded, and so eventually the farm became over 200 acres. But by that time we had electricity, and Dad bought some tractors and other modern things, like the cows now got water by pushing on a lever in the watering cup in the barn, whereas when I was there I had to water the cows in the tub and haul the water in pails and pump the water in the pump shed. We used the manure from the chicken coop and the manure from the cows and the horses, and it was all replenished back into the soil. Occasionally we had to put like lime in the soil to counteract the acidity. But that's all. We did not have any commercial fertilizer at that time, at all. We had 200 chickens. Chicken will lay an egg almost every day. You can, out of leghorn chickens, you can get 300 eggs per year. And those are usually the kind of chickens we had. But we'd buy meat chickens too. We did have a lot of extra eggs, so we would collect them, clean them, put them in a 12-dozen crate, and take them to Schrader's Market and trade for groceries. We didn't sell any of the raw milk. We used the raw milk at home, and we used fresh milk and unpasteurized milk sours in about a day or two, and we used the sour milk to bake with, often ate it, especially the cream, and our milk was shipped to the cheese factory. And then from the cheese factory we would put in an order from the milkman who picked up our milk in milk cans. My mother would leave a slip out there for 5 pounds of cheddar cheese and 2 pounds of butter. And my mother cleaned and sterilized the wash machine, and she poured all the cream in there, and she made like 25 and 30 and 40 pounds of butter at one time. But we also had pigs, but they were huge animals. My father raised them to be 600 pounds each. We fed any of the surplus buttermilk to the pigs. They got good grain we raised ourselves. It was a mixture of ground feed of oats and corn. And they also got whatever leavings there were from the table, if there were peelings or from canning things, all of that. So we raised our own pork as well as our own beef, as well as our own chickens. I helped my dad with the killing and the processing of the pork. And we didn't sell any. We processed it for ourselves. And then we rendered all of the lard from the animal. And everybody used lard then. Nowadays the doctors will advise us not to use lard for health reasons. But then we fried everything in lard. We made donuts with lard. We used it in all of our baking and all of our frying for the table. And somehow things seemed to balance out because all of us did very hard work. And so if we ate those types of meals, then we also used it up by doing the hard work. So I had firsthand knowledge of everything you do on a farm. My mother canned the produce from the garden, and probably about 400 or 500 quarts every summer. And they were a lot of, well, all the vegetables. We all like beets, but the root vegetables were not canned as much as they were stored in the root cellar with sand. So the potatoes, carrots, beets, rutabagas, turnips, all of those kinds of things were stored in a bin in the sand. And so they kept all winter. They didn't freeze, they kept fresh. We would have like a shredded carrot salad in December and January with no problem at all. All farm families were like that. They never went hungry because they could utilize everything that they had in their cellar to make something very palatable, very tasty, and very nourishing. Another thing everybody did was visited after hours. And we thought that was the best thing, to listen to them talking about, you know, all the things. What kind of grain are you going to raise this year, and this and that. It was a big discussion, and we had coffee and cake and all that stuff that goes on with visiting. So there was a lot of exchange there.